Hey guys, this is Coach Powell coming to you live once again with another Coffee Tea You and Me from my wonderful basement studio here in wonderful Centerville, Virginia. It's good to see you guys. It's good to have you all around. Today's topic is going to be a wonderful one. I am so proud to be able to present these ideas that I'm going to share with you all today. Some beautiful things are going to be happening. We're going to be talking about, and we're going to be furthering our course on forward thinking. How are you going to get yourself prepared? How are you going to get yourself ready for 2021? How are you going to do this and make sure that you have the kind of plans that you need to have to move your life and your business forward in a meaningful, powerful way? And so over the last few weeks, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about, first of all, why planning is important, and what you can expect in general, broad kind of overview of planning, the different types of planning styles that people might have. Some people are very, very mission-based plans, very mission-oriented in terms of their planning. Some people are very goal-oriented in terms of their planning. Some people are very visual. They need to have a vision of where they're going, what their destiny or destination might be. And then some people are just those kind of plotters, those kinds of habit-driven people that can only plan around what they're already doing, what current habits they are. They may be able to make some slight adjustments to their habits, but their habits rule the day for them. And so if their plan takes them outside of their habits, then it's not going to work out too well. And so somehow all of us have one or more of those various orientations that we may want to enjoy or participate in the planning process. And we took a deep dive into the vision orientation, and we also talked a lot about pretty much what that mission orientation might be about. I think we're going to follow up and do a little bit more about that next week. But this week, we're going to talk about goals and why goals are important to the planning process and how you can use your goals to create the life you want, the opportunities that you want, the things that are in front of you. Take advantage of the things that are in front of you. Take advantage of the things that you dream up. Get you closer to, a tremendous amount of success. And I'm sure you've seen this. For many years, people have talked about goals, why goals were important, what do you do about your goals, how do you work on your goals, how do you strategize around goals. I mean, people have really talked about that to death, really. And so I wanted to come up with some newer approaches and think about this from a different point of view than many of you might already be kind of focused on taking advantage of, and try to bring some new ideas to the table, at least some things that are new for me, put it that way. I can only do things that are necessarily new for me. I don't know if they're going to be new for you unless I create them. And even then, what I found that the things that I create generally aren't as new as I'd expect or like them to be. Okay, so very, very important. We're going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about why goals are important. How do you use your goals? How do you get in front of your goals? How do you make goals an important aspect to everything that you do everywhere? Because when you can do this, when you can really, really get your goals going, life is just so much better. It's just so much better. Now, so what I want to caution you all right up front, before we get too deep into this topic, is you need to understand that goals in and of themselves are just a certain aspect of the planning process. In order for your planning process to be holistic, to be realistic, to give you the best out of it, you're going to have to consider a couple of key areas. And those key areas, I'm going to drop a quick illustration into the chat that should help you really think through some of the key areas that I'm talking about right now. And let me see if I can get that back out to you guys. It's the smartest way to do that. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so I'm dropping the illustration in the chat right now. And this illustration is an illustration of a program that I designed called the 4 basic elements of the Vision Quest 90 process. And when you look at those 4 elements, what you're going to see is that no matter where you are in your particular orientation, all of the elements of planning have to come together uniquely well, and they all feed each other and they all help each other along. And it's very, very important that when you think about your planning, you don't try to isolate yourself into one box of these 4 different quadrants or 4 different areas or elements of planning. You want to think about your goals, you want to think about your habits, you want to think about your mission, you want to think about your vision, because doing so gives you an overall comprehensive sense of your destiny, your purpose, the kind of execution style you're going to need, and the pace of achievement that is important for you to work towards if you're going to be serious about getting to your goals. And I'm also going to drop in the chat box another document. This is a recent training guide to goal setting, which I'm calling Goals 101, for lack of better terms for now. Goal setting 101. If you guys have a better name for that, let me know. If something comes to your mind as a result of you receiving the training and looking at this, and you want to, give me some ideas, go ahead and throw them out to me. I really appreciate that, because I'm horrible with the marketing and the names and all that kind of stuff. I'm very good at creating training and very good at guiding people through the training, but I'm not necessarily so good at the marketing part where, I use the right language necessarily to get everybody excited about things. That's not my gift. But when you look at goals, you look at goal setting, I want you, first of all, to have this available to you. So let me go ahead and drop it in the box real quick. There's the link. There we go. Back to StreamYard. That ought to work. Who's making noise over there? Like, can you stop? Okay, copy the link. We're good. Back to StreamYard. Paste it, and we're golden. Okay. So you should be able to go into the chat box right now and see the link to the training guide. And once you pull down the training guide, you're going to be able to talk through and see everything we're going to be talking about and working with. I want you to be able, whether you're on the phone now or whatever you're doing or wherever you're receiving this information from, you should be able to see that training guide. Either you can look at it in the future. You don't have to pull it down right now if you don't want to, if you're like driving in your car or you're just listening to it on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. You don't have to necessarily have that access, but I want you to have access to it. So you can just come back to the chat whenever you want to and check out the training guide. And the first thing I want you to see when you pull it up is sort of an understanding of a definition of what we say when we say goal setting. What is goal setting? Why are goals important, and what is goal setting? Ultimately, goal setting is an opportunity to design a strategy that motivates and guides me and those that depend on me toward achievement. Let's think about that. It's a strategy, an opportunity to design a strategy that motivates and guides me, as well as those that depend on me, towards achieving whatever it is we want to achieve. Now, if you understand how goals work, then you're going to know that without goals, you're pretty much going nowhere fast. A memory is such a shady accountability partner. Sometimes we depend on our memory, go, okay, well, I did this before, so I should be able to do this again. Or, I remember sort of kind of growing in this area, and maybe this is a special area to me. But, you're really not going to be able to depend on that. That's why we tell everybody, as much as possible, get in the habit of writing your goals down, of adjusting and journaling around those goals, really, really doing some detailed work about your pace of activity and what you're doing, because this particular document and this particular style of capturing information will help you, in your hindsight. Your hindsight may look, oh, you may know exactly what you did to get you from there to here. The problem is, it's probably not true. You probably forgot a lot of the details that matter quite a bit in terms of your trajectory moving forward, what you can do, what you can duplicate, what you can synergize around, what you can create other resources around. So it's very, very important. You got to have a good strategy or technique that when you're capturing, lessons learned and feedback and everything about every situation that you find yourself moving forward and you're trying to get to your goals. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So you should be basically in goal setting mode all the time. You should never consider goal setting as a finished fait accompli, a product or project that you're done with, because goal setting is an ongoing, continuous habit. It's a part of your life. It's a part of how you move yourself forward and know that you're moving forward. So the more you set goals, the better you are. The more you do it, the more you execute and set and measure and get feedback, the better you're going to come and the better you're going to become at getting done and everything you want to get done. Anything you want to have happen makes it better with goals, and those goals being set and articulated really, really well. We, as every individual, need to feel like we matter. We need to feel like we have some sort of control over our lives. We have to know that we're significant and distinguished, and our contributions have to be something that we can say, this is what I've done. This is what I can do. This is what I have achieved. Those are things that validate your existence. Those are things that give you credibility in any space that you're in. And when you can do this well, then you're going to have great goal setting. You're going to have great goals that you're going to be able to attribute to, and achievements you're going to be able to attribute to setting those goals and doing everything you needed to achieve what you have to achieve, right? So think about and I love this little picture here of the goats in the mountains, right? They spend their lives in the mountains, and they take for granted their skills and their abilities to, go from mountain peak to mountain peak, to make large leaps, to climb, to do all the things they do. And they're just having a ball. They're just being themselves. They're doing what they were born to do, right? And you are too, generally. But what you need to be able to do, though, is look into your behaviors right now, the things that you're really, really excellent at, the things you're really good at. We'll talk about this more next week in mission planning, and look forward and say, how can I translate these daily habits, these behaviors that I have, this mastery that I've achieved into something that can take me forward into a distance, into a place where I'm not too sure about, but I want to go there, right? This is kind of inform your goals, your gifts, your abilities kind of inform the possibilities of your goals, right? If you continue to do this at an excellent rate, at an excellent level, what can you go? So in this course today, we're going to talk about several things. But in the outcome, you should be able to do a couple things. You should be able to define and use goal setting as an opportunity for yourself, right? You should be able to understand and deploy the SMART goal setting approach. And we're going to talk about how that works and with some reasons behind that and some different things that I'm going to key in on for you that I think is going to be useful for you. You should be able to avoid some of the most common goal setting hiccups, the mistakes that people tend to make when it comes to goal setting. You should be able to use your goal setting strategy to help you focus, to motivate, to execute any and all forward moving decisions. If you can't do that, I've done a horrible job, and I usually don't do a horrible job. I'm pretty good. We're making sure that the promises I share with you are very good and they actually are kept. I see we got a couple more people signed on. Listen, as you come on the broadcast, whether you're coming through Facebook or you're coming through LinkedIn, you're coming through YouTube, do me a favor and sign on in the chat area of the broadcast with your name, maybe where you're located. We're talking about goal setting today. So if there's something specific that you want to talk about when it comes to goal setting, or you want to understand more about, feel free to answer a question, ask a question in the chat anytime during the broadcast, because you'll be surprised that if I don't know the answer to the question, somebody else in the audience might be willing to chat with you about that, or give you some further insight to what that means, or whatever issues or thoughts that you had. So definitely put your information in the chat. Definitely respond to anybody else who's put their information in the chat, or somebody that you want to say hello. I have no problem. You guys can have as many sidebar conversations that you want to. In fact, these are what sidebar conversations are for, right? So you can go away and come back. So, and please engage with us as much as possible, but I understand if you got, things that you're trying to do. So I want to make sure that we keep this brief and interesting. And as you come in, again, if you have a product or service that you'd like to share with somebody, feel free to do that. Feel free to let everybody know how they can engage with you. What's your website? What's your information? How do we contact you? Feel free to share as much or as you feel like you want to share, because those are things that we could do and use to help build a closer community. And I'm all about that. So if you know me in any way, you'll know that that's who I am. Okay. So goals actually are things that anything that you've done, that you need to get done, right? Anything you need to accomplish that's going to move you forward on a chosen path, right? Those are goals. Those are things that you need to do. Without any clear, well articulated, challenging goals, I got a feeling some bad things are going to happen. All right. First of all, because you don't have a clear understanding of your path or what you're trying to accomplish, then you're not going to feel comfortable on any path. You're just going to basically be plodding through, going through the motions, doing stuff, but not necessarily hoping or even intending for those activities to lead you in a direction. You're basically wasting time because you don't know how to value the time that you have, right? Another thing that's happening is you're expending a ton of energy. Even if you're not giving it your best, you're wasting energy that could be moving in another direction or in a more specific, more meaningful direction. And so without goals, there's a lot of energy expenditure that just kind of goes out the window. You're just doing stuff. And it's tiring and it's draining and it's not renewable. It's not something that you can continue forever without some disastrous consequences. And so you have to have some goals to help you do and help you keep that pace of achievement going in your life. Productivity is very, very important, right? You don't have a focal point. Nothing makes sense if you don't have any goals. If you're not trying to do anything, if you don't want to do anything, you're not trying to go anywhere, you're not trying to get to anything, then, they say all roads will take you there, right? So because there's not any specific place you're trying to end up. And I know a lot of people are thinking, well, if it's my destiny to be where I'm going to be, then I'll be there. And it won't take a whole bunch of effort and energy on my part. I hear you. And I believe a large part in destiny, but I think that destiny even needs our help. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in terms of what that means about a little later as you pay attention, right? So you got to have a focal point. You got to have something that you're trying to aim for, right? There's no particular skill or technique that anyone can appreciate or even require when there's no goal. When there's no goal, it doesn't matter. Like I may be a great or excellent racquetball coach, but I'm not coaching anybody. And somebody wants me to go, I don't know, play with trains. I don't know anything about trains. I don't care anything about trains. Yes, you can teach me about trains, but I'd much rather learn more about racquetball. And so I'm not going to really put a whole lot of effort into doing a train thing. Unless there's maybe some competition or something involved. And then I might get excited momentarily to do something because that's who my natural makeup is. I want to win, right? I want to create something. I want to be something special in a moment. And so here I am in the situation. I might as well learn to do this train thing and do that, right? So that might happen. But in reality, I'm not going to be able to sustain that long term because my long lost love will still be waiting for me over here, right? The racquetball still be waiting for me. So you got to think about that. When you're talking about your goals, do they excite you? Are you energized by them? Do they give you a sense of opportunity? Because if not, then again, you're wandering around. You're not going to be able to accomplish very, very much. Nothing you do is going to be rewarding for you. It's not going to help you. People aren't even going to appreciate your efforts because you're not going to be masterful at it. You might be better than most, but you won't be the best that's ever been. You won't be the Michael Jordan of the thing, whatever it is you're doing, because you don't really want it. You don't really desire it. It's not something that means anything to you. And that doesn't become natural for you. You have to work on it too, or it's really crazy, right? So without real goals, things that you're doing seem hopeless and ambiguous, unnecessary. So no one wants to live that life. But what does goal setting do specifically? What does goal setting do for you? Goal setting helps you in a lot of ways. And one of the most important ways goal setting will help you is it will help you establish where you need support, development, and encouragement. All right. You gotta have that foundation, that basis. Like, this is where I am right now, and this is where I want to go, and I want to achieve this. And so I need resources to achieve this. I need people to achieve this. I need contacts to achieve it. I need all kinds of things so I need to achieve it. Where am I going to get my support? How am I going to develop what I need to develop, the strength, the character, whatever it is I need to develop in order to achieve it? And who's going to encourage me? Who's going to help me, stay resilient and focused on it? How's that going to work? So, but if you don't have any goal, then, nobody wants to support you wandering. Nobody wants to get involved with your development of, I don't know, everything and nothing. That's not really development, right? So you're going to find a lot of traps and a lot of problems if you don't really have some goals, right? Also, you're looking at starting objectives, right? What are your objectives really? And where are you ending and where you're starting from? That's what goals help you do. It helps you outline your objectives, right? It helps you develop your resources, understand what resources you have, assess the resources you have to see if those are the quality resources or the kind of resources that you're going to need to assemble to get you to where you need to go. Or do you need new resources? Where do you get them from? Where does it look like? But setting goals start to help you start to figure out, I don't have what I need to make this journey. I don't have what I need to get to this destination to grab this goal. And so in order for me to do that, I'm going to need to go back to school, read some books, find some mentors, get some coaching, do whatever I need to do to build my strength, my skills, or my contacts, my relationships, find the information that I'm going to need to move forward, right? When you set goals, especially for a team, it starts to gel the team. It starts to solidify the team, because people begin to realize, okay, I see where we're going now, and I can add this to the soup. I can do this. I can perform this role on this team. And I know that I'm going to be respected. I know I'm going to appreciate it because we're all trying to get to this goal, right? And then we got whatever innovation, whatever new techniques, whatever strategies you have that you can be masterful of, you're going to be very, very happy deploying those ideas and those skills in a place where people can now accept them, appreciate them, and reward them appropriately. Like I said earlier, I want to be meaningful, significant, and we want to be distinguished. And so in order to do that, working in a strategy or organization that has goals that we fit into and we see ourselves bringing value to the table in makes a lot of sense. And doing anything different makes absolutely no sense at all, because now we get standard of conducts can be aligned and start to move forward. I love goals in the way that they help you or increase your resolve, get that grit going, right? It makes you even more determined to do what you need to do. It's very, very important that you set these goals, right? And then goals finally, and I say this finally, but I don't say this as in any way diminishing any other benefits that goals can deliver to you, because I think it's probably the most important, right? Goals help deliver hope, because when you do them right, and there's a warning, right? You could do them wrong, but when you do them right, when you set your goals appropriately, you're going to be hopeful. You're going to have faith, right? You're going to know that all you need to do is move. All you need to do is act on it. All you need to do is move in this direction and go, because you can get this done. You have the resources. You understand the resources. You've done everything. You've done all your homework. You know that it's going to be a possible thing. It's not just a fantasy anymore. It's like you're moving your dreams into reality by setting some goals around those dreams and making them happen. Okay, so let's get into it. We know what goals are all about. We know what we can receive if we do goals correctly. We know the problems associated with doing them wrong, right? If you do them wrong, you're not going to get the support you need. You're not going to develop yourself the way you should, right? You're not going to be as determined or focused on it. You're not going to get it done. You're not going to be as hopeful or faithful to it. You're not going to be diligent. You're not going to have as much possibility. And the objectives that you have are going to be muddy, not specific, not going to be clear. So you're going to have a lot of problems, right? So why not set the goals? And here's where I want to share with you an illustration that I found. If you go down to page 4, there was a study done by Harvard, and I think it's an ongoing, continuing study, but it's about goal setting. It's about what people experience with goal setting. And it turns out that people who write down their goals are 30 times more successful than those who don't. In fact, only 3% of people bother to write down their goals. And those 3% of people that they studied in the Harvard Review are basically 30 times more successful than those. Now, but what if you just kind of have your goals in your head? Right? That's the answer. They asked the same question. And they found out that there's 14% of people who actually have goals, but they keep them in their head. And they're only 10 times more successful than the 83% of people that don't have goals. So let's look at this. If 83 out of 100 people, 83% people don't have any goals at all. They're not very successful, right? Those who have goals, that have written them down, their goals to have goals, okay, that's 14% of the people. Then they're 10 times more successful than those who had no goals at all. That makes some sense. But those who, the very few, the 3% that took the time to write down their goals are 30 times more successful. Now, if anybody of you ever participated or read this study, what you realize in the study, the questions that aren't answered were, how well did they track the goals? How well did they write the goals in the first place? Who was the help? Who did they hold accountable to achieve the goals? How did they communicate the goals? Did they communicate the goals? None of those questions are really answered. It's just the goals written down. And you can imagine people who haven't been taught how to accumulate or create goals probably aren't as good as those who have been taught, like you are going to be today. So when you think about goal setting for yourself, when you're sitting down and you're really looking at your goals for 2021, I want you to think about a couple questions, right? And in answering these questions, or even attempting to answer these questions, you're going to have better goals. You're going to set goals that are much better. Question number one: what things must you also achieve on the way to achieving your goal? Because these minor things can get in the way and cause you some problems. So I'm going to call them subsidiary goals, right? There's your main goals, and then there are your subsidiary goals that your main goals depend on. Your main goal may be a desire, but your subsidiary goals, they have to be a need. They can't just be desires. You have to need them, because if you don't need them to accomplish your main goal, then they're not really a part of that chain. You understand what I'm saying? You need to have the needs met in order for you to accomplish the goal, the ultimate goal, which might be a desire. It doesn't have to be. It could be a need as well. But I want you to be able to start to think about the differences between needs and desires, because needs have dependencies. If you don't get what you need, you cannot do the next thing, whatever it is, because the need is going to be there, agitating the problem, creating the drama, right? So you have to satisfy needs, or desires aren't possible. You can't even keep them. You can't accept them. You can't grab them. You can't even love them or even enjoy them, really, if you haven't taken care of the needs, right? So the needs have to come before the desires. It's just kind of how we function as human beings. Number two, you have to have natural checkpoints in the process of achieving your goals. And sometimes those are the needs, right? We just talked about. We have to have those natural checkpoints. What are your natural checkpoints that you will know that you're on pace, that you're moving forward towards whatever your goal is? Because if you can line those checkpoints up, then you'll have something that answers question number three. What accountability system should you put in place? When did you stop and measure? What should you measure? What part of the process is measurable, and how can you make the parts of the process that you think are not measurable actually measurable? Because sometimes you can make something measurable that you think is not measurable by a scale. Like sometimes it's a feeling. On a scale of 1 to 5, you feel amazing or you feel like it sucks, right? And that's a scale, right? You can always ask that. You can always ask that scale about almost anything. 0 to 10, or whatever that is. But as long as you keep that consistent, then that's something that gives you something to measure. So don't think that certain things that you think aren't as tangible as emotions, right? are difficult to measure. They're just differently measured. They're measured differently. And now we have little nodes that we can attach to your brain, right, and start to measure your feelings, which ones are lighting, which centers in your brains are lighting up during what activities, which is another crazy thing. But the neurology of this, which we'll talk about a little later, is critically important for you to understand. So you want to make sure that you're asking these kinds of questions. Question number 4 is, how fast did you move? What's the pace of achievement? Do you know what that pace is? Can you measure that pace? Can you tell when you're off pace and when you're on pace? Those are things that you want to try to assess as you're creating your goals. Right? What sequence of events will bring you increasingly closer to your goals? Again, that's another measurement tool. How will you know that you're getting closer to the goal? Right? Is the time on the clock running out and you're ahead? Will it be a situation where you are almost finished the project and it's going to be delivered to the client? Is that the thing? Whatever it is that your goal is that you're trying to achieve, what is that's getting you closer? How will you measure when you're getting closer? Because it's not black or white. It's a process, right? It's not done or not done. There's a process, and you have to think about that. All right. How much of an investment of time or money is it going to take for you to get this done in the long run? How many resources do you have to expend? Some things you have to ignore to focus on this thing. And how long can you ignore that other thing before it implodes on you? Right? These are things you have to measure, things you have to assess, right? Who do you need to recruit? What kind of talent should you bring on board? What kind of people do you need to have available? What skills at the ready to jump in and put their shoulder to the plow and help you push this thing over the finish line? Do you have them? Do you know them? Can you identify them? Can you attract them? Right? These are all resource gathering opportunities. What's the best way to identify the resources that you're going to need? Sometimes you know how to identify resources that you need. Sometimes you don't. You got to dial in a friend. You got to call somebody. You got to ask somebody. You got to check, read some books, get some information, do some development work. And you find out that, I need this tool, or I need this resource, or I need this strategy, or I need this process. I need somebody who's good at this. Resources, information, resources. And finally, you may ask the question, broadly, is there something else that you need to know and why? If you can get to those questions, then you got a great shot at beginning to sketch out and write down some good goals. Now, human beings have been studying goal setting for a long time. Writers from Aristotle to today's writers, kind of reflect, whether they do it in fiction or nonfiction, they're doing some ideas about what goal setting is all about and how do you use goal setting. And so I took from a lot of the famous quotes, some of the things that are out there already. We call them the wisdom writings, that, authors that you may know, some you might not know, to help bring some energy and some focus to maybe some newer ideas to goal setting that you might have thought of. One idea I thought was very, very empowering was that goals will help you expand your reach and become stronger. And it's true. You're going to have to be more resilient. It makes you more resilient. It makes you more focused. It makes you stronger. It makes you understand where you're weak and where you need to be stronger in order to achieve what you want to try to achieve. And then you can work on those areas, right? You can get the training you need. You can get the skills development that you need to be stronger in whatever area that is. Also, goals will help you actualize your greatest dreams. I love, there's a quote that I found that's something similar to this, where, if you're dreaming something, if you really want to make it happen, just put a date on it. Say, I'm dreaming and I can do this amazing thing. But as soon as you put a date on it, it starts to become a goal. It doesn't all become a goal necessarily, but it starts to become a goal. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. All right. So, other authors believe about goal setting that well-written and articulated goals will help you gather the support and the resources that you need. Just think about that. If you show up to somebody and you ask for their help, and they ask you why, you can't explain it, and you can't illustrate it, and you can't demonstrate it, you can't show them any type of documentation that would illustrate the severity or the complexity or the design or the strategy of how you're going to achieve this, they're going to achieve this need, this desire of yours. That doesn't have as much credibility as it needs to have to gather, especially major support. If you want major support from people, if you want people to risk something that they have or put an asset that they think is responsible, then you owe them and yourself literally the opportunity to write it down, to make a clear statement, and is in and on as many pages as it takes to communicate effectively what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, what resources you have, what resources you need to get it done. If you don't have those things answered, then I don't think you're going to be able to get too many support. You're not going to be able to get the kind of resources that you need. Another author says that it's important to use goal setting as a way to increase your focus and your drive during execution. If you have your goals out in front of you, then first of all, nobody can put anything else in front of you because your goals are in front of you. If somebody grabs your attention and moves your attention away from what your goals are to something else, and you chose to pay attention to that thing, then you can get misdirected. You can be off your path. You can be, focused on things other than your goals. And so your goals are there to help you focus, right? And help you drive and help you keep, your attention where your attention should be. A fun example is, I have a digital map in my car, and, I'm taking a trip with the family off, and we're riding, and I'm usually the driver. And, my wife and my daughter, they want to do different things. They want to talk about different things. They want to discuss different things. They want to have music playing. They want to do all kinds of things that affect my display of my map in terms of where I'm going. And so I have to say, you know what, we got to do that later, because I got to focus on the plan here. I got to focus on the map. So I know when to turn, when to get off, where to go, all that kind of good stuff, especially if I'm going in a strange place, and I got to focus on that. I can't have my attention diverted. I can't have my goals disappear, my map disappear, right? My plan disappear, or we might get lost. And you got to figure out where we were and how to find our way back and how to get reacquainted with ourselves and get back on track. And I'd rather not have the diversion, right? This is what goals can do for you. Goals can help you stay focused, keep you driven, moving in the right direction. Right? Goals also can remind us. Another author said that goals can remind us who we are and establish meaning for our activities, for everything we're doing, all of our efforts. I love that thought process. You think about that. You've taken the time to write down your goals. You've assessed what skills you have, what talents you have, what abilities you have. You've looked at your history, your background, and you've come up with a plan, some kind of strategy, some kind of goals. It says a lot about who you are. It says a lot about your character. In fact, if you can and embrace it for yourself and articulate it really, really well, and then share with other people will know who you are. They'll know your character. You'll be more understood, right? You can do more meaningful things when more people who are empowered to understand you. I love that Stephen Covey quote, right? Seek first to be understood, then to be seek first to understand, then to be understood, right? That's a very important idea and a concept that I think most people can't wrap their mind around. Audrey, I see you out there. This is Audrey from HR Consulting and Career Coaching Services, BULLC. So good to have you on the call, Audrey. Thank you for showing up. Really appreciate you. If you have any questions about goal setting that we're not going to answer, but that's not there, go ahead and ask them, put them in the chat. If also you'd like to download the training document they're working from, it's also available for you. Okay, so back to the training. So when you think about, your goals and some of the wisdom teaching, there's a lot there that is very, very important. And there are some ideas about where goals are best served to you. How do you best serve yourself, and how do you best use goal setting, right? There's the SMART approach. SMART approach is something that we've all known, we've all learned, but it bears repeating, because I think people sometimes get mistaken as to what its intent are. So your SMART goals are always going to be specific, they're going to be measurable, they're going to be accountable, they're going to be relevant, and they're going to be timely. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, right? You want those goals to be there. And when they're not, they just don't make sense. They're not doable. They're not something that, are going to work really well. And they still might work better than not having any goals at all, right? But you do want to have, when you write your goals down, you want to make sure that you can check them for those things. And we're talking about how you do that a little later on. Other thing you want to do with your goals is move them out of the dream category and into the reality category. And you do that by setting some deadlines. We think about and fantasize over a lot of things. But if we don't ever say, you know what, I want to get this done by XYZ time for XYZ reason, then it's harder to engage everything our mind needs to engage to do that, right? It's important to write them all down. We discussed this already. Ask for help. Oh my God. I can't tell you how important it is that you do not set your goals in a vacuum. Have a few people that you can trust, right? That really believe in you and have your back to review your goals and help you assess the possibility, right? Are they realistic goals? Are they something that are doable? Not necessarily doable by you, but are they doable, period? Because if they're doable, period, then you certainly can do them. It might not be within the time frame that you want them done. And it's certainly something that you can aim at or focus on and move towards. But you're going to have to develop some skills. You're going to have to develop some information, some talent. You have to develop some people along the way in order to make that happen, right? So those are things that you need to know, and other people can help you figure that out so that you can safely pursue your goals without taking enormous risks that are not quite possible to make happen, right? So you want to make sure you have the safety of the tribe. So try to get your inner circle of people around you, people that are close to you, to review and check your goals. Get their feedback on your talent and your skills and what you've brought to the table in the past that might give you more credibility than even they know. These are meaningful conversations that when you have with people, I promise you will always come back, in a very, very useful way for you and give you some great feedback. Another thing you want to do when setting your goals is to, have some peaceful reflection time. Reflect on what you learned, where you were, what happened today, yesterday, last week, last month. Because you want to be able to understand and record what happened. How did it work? What worked well? What didn't work so well? You want to gather some feedback and reflect on that feedback. What is the feedback really saying to you? How do you interpret it? That reflection time is critically important, because what's going to happen in that reflection time is your brain is going to do some things that reward you, that create opportunities for your future that you can't imagine without it. So you have to spend that reflection time. I would say take a half an hour every day. Do some planning, do some goal setting, do some review, right? Do some reflection. And then look at what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month, right? You need to have goals for a lot of different things, not just goals for achieving something at the job or achieving something professionally. You have goals for every area of your life and every role that you play. You need goals for your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit. You have to have goals that are specifically focused to help you be more disciplined, more focused, and more resilient. Your goals should be open and they should be flexible to change. As you learn more in execution, then you should be able to make adjustments to your goal. if you're not making adjustments to goals and you're just going down the same rabbit hole over and over and over again, you're going to find that the law of diminishing return starts to jump in, and you're not getting the rewards or the benefits you're looking for anymore, and they're going to go bye-bye. And so you got to make adjustments. You have to make adjustments to the pace, the rhythm, the timing, the energy, the effort that you're putting forward toward every goal. Now, back to that earlier review when I talked to you about the goals and people being more successful at Harvard, right? What they didn't share with you is that people were more successful than the 83% who had no goals, yes, but they weren't necessarily successful at the goal that they were trying to go for, or the goals they were trying to go for. They were just more successful overall, period. Because as you move towards every goal, opportunities are going to show up that you're going to either want to take advantage of or ignore. And you have to have what goals do for you is they give you a way to be diligent and to focus on what you're supposed to be focused on and not get distracted. But sometimes it's not a distraction. Sometimes it's an opportunity, and you'll know how to see it as an opportunity because of the work that you've done on your goals. You'll be able to see yourself getting to your goal faster because of this opportunity. Or you'll be able to see yourself going, you know what? I don't even like this goal as much as I like this goal. And so since I'm already on the way, let me just go after this goal instead of that goal. So you extend and you pursue a different goal or a greater goal inside the same train of thought. But either way, you're going to be more successful because you wrote them down than if you didn't. A lot more. So you got to be open and flexible. You got to set goals for your knowledge and your development, and set goals for your diligence, which we already talked a little bit about, right? Always recast your goals as you're moving forward and get yourself back on track, because you're going to get off track. There's going to be some things, no matter how good you are, that will take you off your focus, take you off your game. People, ideas, the dog needs to be walked, the trash needs to be taken out, things you didn't plan, environmental concerns, COVID-19, the presidential election. Excuse me. All these things could be, distractions that take you away from your goal. You didn't plan to have to think about it or worry about it or be concerned about it, but there it is, and it's not something that you can avoid. So you're going to think about that. How do you get yourself back on track? How do you allow yourself not to get distracted? And if you do get distracted, and you will get distracted, how do you get yourself back on track? I also have here in the training manual, which I think is amazing. I always put this in all of my training. This is, a reflection on page 4, reflection of some of the great faith teachings about planning and what the Bible may say, or the Torah, or the Quran, or any of the great holy books, right? Some of this stuff even comes from Buddha. But I'm sharing this with you because, not that I want everybody to be on the same Christian walk that I'm on, but I'm sharing it with you because this is how, what was recorded and written in history, and even in religious history, can inform us greatly of how we've come to the decisions and the conclusions we've come to today. And so I always like to kind of harken back on those things, not just to strengthen my faith, but to evoke prior thinking to where we are today. So I love the Bible says about this. Basically, the faith empowers all goal setting. The stronger you are in your faith, the more energy and effort you have to your goals. We're called to be prudent and wise, even in our planning efforts, even in our goal setting, right? So whatever we're doing, we're supposed to be prudent and wise. When we do that and we write out our plans and make them plain, other people can see what we're trying to do and jump on board and help or be a part of it and enjoy, even if it's for a short period of time, that walk with us, where we're sharing resources and we're creating something together that we could have never created without, right? Goals, we should be focused on achieving greater character in our goal setting, right? How do you focus more? The Bible would say everybody's supposed to be doing truth, speaking truth, doing justice, and walking in the way of righteousness, right? So how do you do that? What goals do you have for truth seeking and telling, right? What goals do you have for creating equality and and justice throughout the world or in your backyard? What goals do you have for just being a better person? Do you have any goals for those things? Because you can set those goals for those things, right? And you can figure out how to measure them too, right? I got a feeling if you don't set these kind of goals that some people may say they're spiritual, some people may say they're religious, who cares? Whatever they are, if you don't set goals to, because there's a part of you that is not going to thrive if you don't set goals for these areas. And there's the cost for lying. There's a cost for inequity. There's a cost for selfish, self-guided, some would say sinful behavior. And those costs might be something you might not want to pay. So whether you believe or not, you might want to get on the track of doing what universally we all agree are the right things, right? Study and goal setting. When you go through the training, there are a couple different key ideas and professors and professionals that I think you should take a look at. Inc. Magazine had a piece that was written by Geoffrey James. And one of the things he brought out, and I love this piece, was the improvements to your brain that are made by setting your goals and acting on those goals, obviously. Here's some key ideas that only a geek like me gets excited about it, but I promise you some new stuff, right? So it just so happens that we now know why the 3% who wrote their goals are better and more 30% more successful than those who didn't. We know why, because their brains actually work better. When you write your goals down, your amygdala and your frontal cortex begin to work together to create greater neuroplasticity that allows your brain to engage with more power and more energy focused on whatever you're trying to achieve and less energy from your brain itself. It just kind of works that way, right? So think about it. Think about the things that you've maybe practiced over your life, right? Your rehearsals, your programs that you've really memorized, whatever it is you've done to review something over and over and over again in your mind, and you've just sort of experienced it and you've become good at it and you've tried it out and you've tested it. Now you don't have to think about it. It just happens, right? It's just a happenstance. So if goal setting and planning and working on those goals becomes your habit, right? You've trained your brain to be a goal setting, goal achieving master, literally. And it uses less energy to achieve even more than you ever would achieve had you not set the goals and learn how to set goals and practice setting goals on a consistent, regular basis. Is that crazy or what? It's so good. Your brain uses 20% less energy. So think about it. If you're stressed and overwhelmed, right? Do you have any clear goals that you're going after? You know, are you working more effectively, more efficiently? Have you maximized that? You know, because I think that you might be overtaxing your brain with the impossible scenarios, right, that you're playing out that are not true. They're causing guilt and they're causing all kinds of things that are just really not there. And you're forcing yourself not to be efficient, not to be effective in whatever you're doing, because you're not stopping and going, okay, what's the goal here? Write it down. Share it with those that are empowered to empower you. Say, okay, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Boom, 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 boom. Like, get this right, or is there some things here that we're not important? Okay, let's reprioritize these. Now, which ones are the most important? Which ones are the least important? Okay, so if I can only work on these top 5 here, would that be okay? You know, now you're starting to straighten out, you know, what your process and what your program needs to be by goal setting and sharing those goals, because we all want goals. Goals are how we measure achievement. We don't have any goals, we can't measure achievement. That doesn't mean we don't achieve anything. We just can't prove that we achieved anything. You get what I'm saying? This is very, very important. This next part of the training module, I really love. This is from Cheryl Travers. This is a TED Talk. And in this TED Talk, Cheryl links your goal setting and to your desires in a way that I've never seen happen before. And you know that part of goal setting strategy where we talk about your goal has to be relevant, right? In order for it to be relevant, it has to mean something to you. It has to be something that you desire, you want, you need. It's important. It's vital. There's a emotional energy that comes around your goals that if you don't focus on, you're going to set goals that are just, okay, they're specific. Okay, they're measurable. Okay, they're achievable. Okay, they're timely, but they don't matter. How long can you do something that doesn't matter? Nobody cares about. You don't care about it. It's not important. It's not vital. It doesn't do anything to help you with your self-concept, your self-esteem, your self-development, your professional awareness. Nothing is improved as a result of it. So why do it? That's the stuff that becomes the drudgery. I've got to do it because I have to do it. And I don't see why it's valuable, where it's valuable, who it's valuable to. It's certainly not valuable to me. So if you look at that video, she's going to teach you how to set your goals in a way that will enhance your self-awareness, create and maintain your priorities, visualize all your successful behavior, use goals and to create affirmation statements for yourself, which I love those. I'm very much about affirmation statements and helping you to feel accomplished and satisfied with what you're doing. Critically important. This last program I want to share with you is from Dr. Emily Volk, and she's your leadership strategist, teacher, professor. And she has these 4 pillars of goal setting. And I love the 4 pillars. I like numbers, right? And assessing them and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, all these 4 pillars of goal setting, right? She says that, you need to have a full understanding of achieving your objectives. What is in its fullness? What will happen as a result? What is the benefit? What are the benefits? What am I trying to achieve? Why am I trying to achieve it? What will it do for me or our organization? How will you be, how will it be measured? What will it be valued? Number 2, setting your goals correctly establishes accountability. People can measure you. You can measure yourself against your goal. How am I doing? You can go, okay, I'm 80% there. All I got to do is push this last 20%, and I've gotten to 75% faster than I thought I was. I thought I was going to get here by June, but now I'm here. Here it is March, and I'm already here. Maybe I could take off the brake. I could take some steam off, or I could take some off the pedal a little bit, slow down a little bit, allow some other things to catch up that I'm trying to work on, and work on some other ideas or concepts or goals that I'm working on, and still get back in the game and finish this, and take it over the finish line way before the deadline. It's beautiful, right? It'll help you measure your progress. And what I love most about the 4 pillars of goal setting is this thought. Goal setting is the evidence of possibility in action. I love that thought, right? Because think about it. If your team knows where they're going, they're motivated, they know how to improve the strategies, how to build better processes, how to create more opportunities within themselves. They know what to ask from themselves to do. And they can provide the evidence of why this is critically, why this is important. Everything works much better. Now I have here some critical exercises that I think that each of us should do. If you're setting your goals, if you're looking at your goals, try these exercises on for size. List 5 areas of your life that could use some major improvement. It could be your health. It could be your mental health. It could be your professional relationships. It could be it doesn't matter. Whatever it is in your life that could use improvement, just write them down. Write them down as many as you can, but then kind of prioritize the top 5. These are the things that are most important to you. Now, if you were to improve massively in those 5 areas, next question, right? What would you be able to be, do, and have if you were able to make massive improvements in these 5 areas successfully? What would you be able to be? Who would you be able to be different than you are right now? What would you be able to do? These are activities, right? Things you can do. What will you be able to have? These are material things. What will you be able to have that you can't right now? Be, do, have. Ask those questions, right? Number 3, how will you know you are on track with achieving what you want to achieve in these goals? How will you know? Say your goal was to be a better father. How will you know you're a better father? What will be the measurement? I would suggest that if you're like me, you sit down with your daughter and you work out a program. Like, I'm trying to be a better father. So tell me, how am I doing so far? Okay, that's fine. That's great. What things do you think that you should see some improvement in order for you to say, you know what, that's better? And if you see those improvements, I get a thumbs up or kiss on the cheek, or what do I get, right? So, you got to think about those things, right? And you create a goal. By this date, I'll be better at this thing. Whatever it is. Might be listening, might be paying allowance on time. I don't know. Whatever it is, right? You do. So think about that. How will you measure that you're on track? Number 4, for every goal that you've written down, you need to assess the T3 resources, the time, talent, and treasure you need to achieve it. It's all great to say I'm going to be a better dad. And my daughter says, well, if you really want to be a better dad, what I need you to do is listen to me more. Right? And I need you to listen to me so well that I know that you understand me every time. And I never listen. It's 6 months. I go, how am I doing? She got to say, I have no evidence. There's no recorded evidence. I don't remember anything. I don't see that you've done anything differently. We didn't sit down and have any conversations. So I didn't come to you with any information or any ideas or thoughts. So I don't think you got any better. Ha ha ha. But if I wrote it down and I said, I'm going to check on this every week, and I'm going to, every time I have an opportunity to listen, I'm going to record that down. We listen, Kayla talked to me about blah, blah, blah. Then she talked to me about blah, blah, blah. She talked to me about blah, blah, blah. And I understood that she said she valued back to me. I reflected back to her what she said. Mm-hmm. She said, yes, you got it. You got it. It's perfect. That's exactly what I need to talk about, what I was trying to establish. She feels understood. Check, check, check. Every conversation. Check, check, check. I have a document that says, I'm a great listener now. I'll show it to her during my evaluation phase. How am I doing? So, oh, yeah. Wow. I forgot we talked about that. No, I forgot we shared about that. I forgot. Yeah. That's it. You have to create the measurements to move you towards success. And if that's all done in 6 months, she can never say, well, Dad, you don't listen. No, Dad's a pretty good listener because look at the evidence. You said it to yourself. You gave it. We all worked. We worked on this together. You were accountable for me becoming a better listener. You want a third party judge? Let's ask Mom, right? So think about how you can involve other people in your goal setting. Think about how you can measure how much time it takes. Think about how many resources you're gonna have to expend on this. Because if you don't put the resources to anything, if you don't make the investment in anything you're trying to do, then you're probably not gonna get there. And you're gonna have to leverage other people. You're always gonna have to leverage other people's information, other people's talents, other people's ideas and thoughts. And that's gonna make you have to be more communicative, right? It's just one of those things. Number 5, establish daily, weekly, monthly time for planning and reflection. We talked about that. I spend about 30 minutes at minimum every day planning, and maybe an hour for the weekly plans, and maybe 2 or 3 hours on my monthly plans. Sometimes I take myself away for a 3-day retreat for my annual planning, right? I'm gonna really, really sit down and hash out all of my roles and what I want to achieve in all of my roles, all the things I want to achieve for myself from a health and wealth perspective, right? All the things I want to achieve for myself professionally. And then I'll do my retreat. I'll do all the goal setting strategies that we talked about earlier, plus some ones we're going to talk about in a couple seconds. Number 6, learn how to establish the difference between a need-based goal and a desire-driven goal. Desire is what you want. The need is what you need to have. You have to have it. If you don't have something that you need, then there's consequences. Desires don't have consequences, right? You just won't feel good or you just might not, they don't have any physical consequences to desires. I want you to love me, you don't love me. I desire you, you don't desire me back. There's no consequences I got to pay outside of emotional consequences for those types of things. Not that emotional consequences are any way diminished in any way from physical consequences, but you want to make sure that in your goal setting, you understand the difference between a desire and a need, because a need might kill you if you don't get it done, right? It just might be something that ends your life. You need water. You need to breathe. You need to eat. You need a roof over your head. You need, maybe a car to get you from point, or some kind of mode of transportation to get you from point A to point B, because something else that you need at point B, right? So think about that. What's a need? Or something there might be desires you're trying to have, like a desire to be the best in your company at whatever you're doing. Okay. In order for you to hit that desire, you need to measure what other people consider the best, so that when you claim you're the best, you have some type of measurement that's gonna help you make that claim. There has to be some goal that you are satisfying that other people can receive as, this is something that, that's something that you are the best, and we need you because you're the best, right? Think about that. There's all kinds of things on here, number 7, about the Pareto principle, not the Pareto principle, the SMART test, and how you go about using the SMART test. And I highly recommend, if you haven't, go into number 7 and really, it's on page 6, the end of page 6, number 7, is really all about the SMART system, right? How do you use SMART goal setting? And it can be so informative to you. If you don't use it, then I think you're leaving a lot on the table when it comes to writing your goals and being successful at writing your goals. And you're just not going to be one of those successful people. You'll be going to be successful more than people who didn't write their goals. You're just not going to be as successful as the 3% that were 50 times more successful? That's crazy. Yeah, 30 times more successful. And that's goal setting, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. I had a great time talking to you about that. Okay, so let me go and see if there's any questions about goal setting and anything that you guys want to discuss when it comes to goal setting. How many of you all out there, or here's a better question. Have you ever set goals, worked really hard on those goals, and didn't achieve them? Either in the time that they were supposed to be achieved or at all. That's a horrible experience that I want all of us to be able to avoid. And one of the ways you avoid that is by getting more people involved in your goal setting, more people that have high trust involved in your goal setting, because they're going to tell you if it's not possible. They're going to tell you, at least give you some indications that there's some things you need to do before it is possible. There's some things you need to experience or understand before it is possible. 9 times out of 10, when we set our goals in a vacuum, which is just to ourselves, we have this tremendous New Year's resolution list of all the things we're going to do, right? But we really haven't thought them out and really written them down and really discovered, why these things are relevant to me. I want to lose weight. Okay, that's great. That's the good one. That's everyone does that one. Right? I want to lose weight. Okay, great. But why? Well, my doctor said so. If I don't do it, then I'm a candidate for diabetes or stroke or high blood pressure or cholesterol or something like that. Well, that's a now that's moving from, that's moving into the need category. It's got a different sense of urgency than I want to do it because I just want to look a certain way. I want to get back into my high school jeans kind of thing, right? That's a different kind of relevance. Not that one is more relevant than any, because everybody's different in terms of how they're going to receive what is relevant to them. Every company is going to feel certain contributions are relevant or irrelevant. Every organization is going to look at what you're doing or how you're proceeding as relevant or irrelevant, right? And you want to be relevant. You want to be meaningful. You want to be significant. You want to be distinguished. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants those things. So in order to think about your goals and how your goals are helping you. Is this meaningful? Ask the question to those who are going to be the beneficiaries of whatever that you're doing. If you're doing something in the hopes of accomplishing something that your family thinks is irrelevant, even when you accomplish it, won't be anybody to celebrate it with you. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that you plug other people. I think a lot of times that's what makes our goals very difficult. We make them too difficult for ourselves because we don't invite the energy of others into the goal setting moment. Even if it's your children, a lot of times people go, well, I'm doing this for the benefit of my children. Okay. Tell your children. Don't tell them what you're doing as much because they may not be old enough to handle that. But what's the benefit to them? Because what is the entitlement? What are they going to inherit? What kind of resources are you going to create for them that they don't have to bother creating for themselves because you got this? And they can focus on some other things that they want to try to do. Because when it's all said and done, this resource that you're creating is going to be there for them. Now, if you're not sure you want to create this resource for them, then don't talk to them about it. Because that's not really go. It's not something that you really want to do. It's something that you're thinking about, that you like to do, but not necessarily that of ranking importance. Then you got some other things you're trying to do that's more important to that thing. Only discuss the things that are vital, important to you, things that are relevant, things that are meaningful, things that distinguish, things that give you character, grow you as a person. Those are the things you want to share. Don't keep those things to yourselves, not the important stuff. Stuff that's irrelevant, that's not really important, that it's nice to do, it's all right. You can keep that stuff to yourself because nobody's going to help you with that stuff anyway. Even if they do, it's going to be short-lived. You're not even going to appreciate it because you don't really want that yet, right? So I think sometimes prioritizing is a problem. Accountability is a problem. Articulation is a problem. Being very specific and meaningful with your goals becomes a problem. And to the extent that you can do all those things, then your goal setting will be much better. If you look at the training that I shared with you, and I'll try to share it again, maybe if I can. Yeah, if you look at the training module that I shared with you, then you should be able to do this. You should be able to do this without a whole lot of fanfare and a whole lot of help from other than those close to your inner circle. Next week, we're going to be talking about how you incorporate mission planning in your goal setting. How do you, in all of your planning, how do you get that sense of obligation and commitment that you need to honor in your activities and in your goals? Because when you get that and the things that you're doing, you respect them. You love doing that. You love engaging in that way. When you don't, then you miss the boat. You miss the opportunity. All right, like always, guys, if you found this information useful, meaningful, I would love it if you would share it, tweet about it, talk about it. Whatever you need to do, go ahead. And if you're seeing this on Facebook or YouTube, thumbs up it, hit the subscribe button, do all that happy jazz. And I'm always looking forward to opportunities to share with organizations and training companies or other people. I'm looking forward to helping you move into 2021 in a magical, meaningful way. Next week, we're talking about purpose, how to get it done, how to do it, how to find it on purpose. Talk to you later. This was fun. Ciao for now.